Hi, I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel at Jamie Sage Knits. Today I'm coming to you with my 7th podcast, and it's been I think over a month since I filmed my last podcast. I just got kind of caught up with other videos in the meantime, so I have a ton to share with you today. I think it's almost certainly going to be my fullest podcast in terms of sharing a few finished objects as well as a few works in progress and a bit of a yarn haul, mostly focused around summer yarns. So I'm really excited. Before I start sharing about my finished objects, I did want to mention the sweater I'm wearing now, which is the Poetria Pullover by Sari Nordlund. It is a lace body with stockinette sleeves, and it is quite like a fitted sweater overall. I really like it, and I shared more detail about it in my last podcast. Finished it pretty recently, and I'm getting some nice wear out of it in the spring before it gets too warm. This is a DK weight knit, recommended with a fingering wool held with a mohair, and I used Drops Flora in the color light gray and Drops Kid Silk in the color gray to create this beautiful marled appearance. With that, let's dive into the finished objects. The first thing I want to share is the Mosaic Sweater by Pernille Larsen of Knitting for Olive. And this is an all-over colorwork sweater. I love the graphic colorwork design. This is a pretty easy pattern. It has a max of 5 stitches, so personally I didn't catch floats. And it's a quite repetitive colorwork motif. It worked up really quickly since it was on 6mm needles, and it is, I think, like an Aran weight knit. She recommends holding 2 strands of fingering weight yarn, for example, Knitting for Olive Merino, with 1 strand of mohair. You can, of course, instead of 2 strands of fingering weight, use 1 strand of maybe like a heavy DK or light worsted, such as Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. Personally, I used 2 strands of Drops Flora because I had placed a big order of Drops yarn a while back, and this was, I think, the last project that I did with that yarn. So at the time I bought all of that yarn, it was a while back, and so I kind of just followed the pattern instructions. Now I think I might prefer to buy just 1 DK or worsted weight yarn to decrease the amount of yarn ball management that's needed, especially with a colorwork project, rather than having 6 balls of yarn, like 3 strands for each color. It would at least be preferable to have 4 balls, like 2 of each color. But honestly, it wasn't so bad, and this was more of a product knit for me. It was a pretty easy project to work on while like watching TV or something like that. So I kind of just chipped away on it over time. Like I said, it worked up pretty quickly. It has 1x1 ribbing on the details. It has like an open sleeve, no decreases or increases in the sleeve, just like straight down, which creates a slightly flared appearance. And it was worked bottom up. There were options for steeking or to knit the top flat. And I had recently steeked a couple of colorwork sweaters, so I was in the mood for something different. I decided to knit it flat, and because it's a relatively simple colorwork pattern, that turned out totally fine. I also was a little bit concerned about how I would try to reinforce the steek bridges with 3 strands. I just felt like it would be kind of hard to make sure I picked up all 3 if I was doing like a hand sewn or crocheted, and then I think it would really get like stuck in a sewing machine based on my prior experience with just 1 strand of wool and 1 strand of mohair. And so I'm really happy with that decision. I don't think there's any like visible difference in tension between the top and the bottom. And then I picked up the stitches around the opening for the sleeves and then knit the sleeves down. So I am, like I said, super happy with this. I think I wore it like 4 times after finishing it that week. And you can say I left a stitch marker in just to indicate the back of the neck. I think it is pretty obvious like when I pick it up, but I'll probably sew in a tag when I have a chance. I've just been procrastinating and left this guy in to indicate the back so I could easily identify it. Also, when I was blocking it, I kind of intentionally like pulled down the front of the neck a little bit more just to help with the fit. In terms of the colors, personally, like I said, I used Drops Flora and Drops Kid Silk in the colors Off-White and Black. And the pattern has 5 sizes with a finished chest circumference ranging from 38 to 59.5 inches. And I think it recommends like 2 to 8 inches of positive ease. So I knit, I think the size 2. So yeah, based on my experience, I would definitely recommend this pattern, even to someone who's not very experienced with color work. It was, I think, a pretty easy pattern to start out with, and like I said, because it's on large needles, it worked up quickly, which was super nice. And I just absolutely love this graphic pattern. It's so fun to look at. I've gotten a lot of compliments on it. A lot of people seem to think that it looks complicated, which is interesting because as a knitter, like, this is actually a pretty simple color work, but you know, I'm not mad if people are impressed by it. So yeah, and I'll put in a clip of me wearing it. But yeah, absolutely love this one. And I'm glad that I got it finished in time to wear for spring, because it's an Aran weight and color work, so it's almost like double, you know, like there's all the floats inside. It's been really perfect to wear in like 50-degree weather, and yeah, I really like it. I'll also mention, I've talked before about drops yarn. Personally, I'm not super sensitive to itchiness, so like, to me this feels pretty soft. I do wear it with a long sleeve shirt underneath typically, but yeah, I don't find it itchy on like the neck or the wrists or anything like that. But if you are more sensitive to itchiness, then you probably know which yarns work for you and might want to make a different choice. Alrighty, next up, I actually wanted to just briefly mention a project that I worked on and finished, but I don't have in person. So this was one of my first baby knits. It's called the Baby Bear Bonnet by Pernille Larsen. And this is, so it's another Pernille Larsen pattern. It's a DK weight bonnet. The sizes range from 1 month to 24 months, and the construction honestly is hard to conceptualize, but the instructions are really clear. I just followed them and I was like, whoa, this turned into a bonnet. It's like knit flat, starting from the band in the front, and then it goes over. You kind of leave like holes for the little ears, and then you do the back with like short rows, and I don't know. It's hard to picture in my mind, but it turned out totally fine. Personally, I made the 1 month size with some leftover yarn that I had from a prior project. So I used KnitPicks Gloss DK in the color Plume. And so that is a mix of merino wool and silk. So I thought that would be, you know, good for a baby. And I gave it to my friends already, and they seem to really like it. And I hope that the baby can get some wear out of it. And, you know, have a little bit of use from it. I knit the tiny size because the baby was due in late March, so I figured she can wear it in April when it's still a little bit chilly, and then they can, you know, keep it for a future baby or pass it along to a family member or something like that. So yeah, this was a really fun project. The instructions I thought were pretty clear. It was a little annoying because sometimes it was like, do these steps and then repeat those steps like 3 more times. So then you had to like find a way to keep track of where you were. But I usually just use a digital pattern and like make notes in the PDF and like keep a tally. So yeah, overall I really liked it. I would definitely make another one. It was super quick. I think it took like 5 hours. I did it in 1 day. And I would certainly make more of these in, you know, different colors, different sizes for other babies that come into my life. So yeah, next up, I wanted to talk about the Cognac Sweater by Atelier Castine. I knit this as part of a knit along with Evgenia from Nicotina Knits and Sari from Good Knits. It's recommended to knit with a fingering weight plus mohair on 6mm needles, so it's a very open gauge recommended. And personally, I had this hand-dyed fingering weight yarn from Wool Through the Trees in the color Hemlock that I thought was so beautiful, and I don't know why, I just got attached to the idea of using it for this project. And it's a blend of about 50-50 mohair and merino in the same yarn. So I thought, oh, maybe it'll have a halo. And it does a little bit, but it's not like the equivalent of using a fingering weight wool with a mohair. So I wound up doing several gauge swatches, and I decided to use 4mm needles. And so this is definitely the most intense gauge math that I've ever had to do. The recommended gauge is 16 stitches and 22 rows and 4 inches, and mine was 24 stitches and 36 rows. So very different. I used the stitch gauge to determine that I should make a size 7 to achieve the measurements that are aligned with like a size 2 or 3. And then I individually calculated the number of rows needed for the instructions that were given in rows rather than in centimeters, right? So if it says like knit until you have 6 centimeters, that's fine. If it says knit like 12 rows, then I would just need to calculate, okay, in my row gauge, that's going to transfer to this, and then just kind of double check where it is in the pattern, if that will make sense to do more rows. So it looks a little bit wonky in the shoulders, I think because of that, but it fits fine on. So overall, I'm really happy with it. I haven't blocked it yet, but I think I might stretch the shoulders out just a little bit with blocking, but honestly, I'm super happy with it. The construction has like very tailored shoulders. I think it's maybe like a set in sleeve or something like that, but there's also a bit of like raglan shaping. Oh yeah, it's an interesting construction that I hadn't done before, but I really enjoyed it. And then it has twisted rib or I-cord edging. I decided to do twisted rib, so there's that. And then on the sleeves, and then on the body. And I am so pleased with it. I think it's really beautiful. It's like a very nice tailored light sweater, almost verging on like a blouse in the version I did. Some other people that I know, they used 6mm needles but wound up adding more strands of yarn to make it more of like a dense fabric, and that also looked really beautiful. So yeah, I think there's a lot you can do with this pattern. There's also a cardigan version, so just a lot of variety, but I'm really happy with what I chose, and I am really happy that I challenged myself to use this yarn despite the gauge math, because I do think it's just a really beautiful, like simple and elegant pattern that really shows off the gorgeous, like subtle variegation of the yarn. And you can kind of see there's these like darker, more forest green sections. There's more like kind of yellowy, warm green sections. And it's just so beautiful. And there's a little bit of a halo. I don't know if you can see from that mohair. But for example, this one is like a strand of mohair. It's a lot more. This one is a bit more subtle. So very happy with this. I'm very excited to wear it in the next like month or so before it gets too warm. But you can see I still have to weave in the ends, and I still have to block it. So I will hopefully do that probably this weekend, and then I'll have a completely finished object. But I still count it. All the knitting is done and has been done for like, I don't know, over a week now, but I just haven't gotten around to blocking it. So I'll have to do that soon. And we still have more finished objects to talk about. So next up we have one that I think I definitely referenced in my spring knitting plans, and then I might have even started in my last podcast, maybe not. This is the Concha top by Caledonia Dreamin'. And so this is a kind of tank top, crop top type situation. And I also haven't blocked it or woven in the ends, but I'm still counting it as completed. Maybe I should have done this before filming, but that's okay. And it is just a really beautiful, kind of simple motif with this like slip stitch ribbing type thing, like stripes. And I used the yarn Illimani Sabri in the color Bone. I held it double to meet gauge. And so this is a fingering weight yarn that is 85% cotton, 15% baby alpaca. And the pattern calls for, I believe, like a DK or worsted weight yarn, and it's knit in, I think, a linen as the recommended yarn. So I wasn't too sure how it would turn out, but I am really happy with it, especially how it looks on. It's knit bottom up, which I don't like. I considered altering it to knit it top down, but I just didn't want to deal with it. Like, often when I buy a pattern, I just want to be able to like turn off my brain a little bit, just follow the directions. So I did that. I of course tried it on a cord once I had like a tube for the body, and I made it a little bit more cropped than the pattern recommends. And it also has a scalloped crochet border added around the neckline and the armholes, which is really cute. It's funny, I like started and I like could not remember how to crochet. A few years back was crocheting a bit more, but now I just have accepted I really prefer knitting, and that's okay. But the first like 10 minutes was so clunky, and then I got back into it, which was nice. Yeah, the pattern is quite size inclusive. I think it fits a bust of 28 to 62 inches, and I knit, I think, a size 2. I was going to knit a size 3, but I decided I would rather have it be a little tight, and I'm really happy with that. Because of the fiber content, it might stretch out, doesn't have as much like fiber memory, so I decided to size down. And I don't think I will wet block it, again due to the fiber content with cotton and baby alpaca. I'm concerned it would stretch out. I might pin down the edges and then spray them, just to help with some of this curling that's going on. But also when it's on, it doesn't curl as much. So like even the bottom, how it's like completely curled up, when I wear it, something about the way that the fabric is like pulled on my body doesn't curl so much. So I probably will pin it just to help it be a little bit more stable. But yeah, overall I'm really happy with it. I think it's so cute and feminine. I'm excited to potentially wear it for one of my wedding events, and then have it to wear throughout the summer months as well. I think it's like a little thick, so maybe not the hottest days of summer, but it's like, you know, a quite small top, so I think it will still be pretty good. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else to say about this? I guess one thing I'll mention is that I might have been holding it backwards this whole time. I don't know. This might be the front. It's hard to tell. The body was like kind of a slog. It was just so repetitive, but then once I got to the straps, it was pretty fun and like really quick. So yeah, I would recommend this, and I would consider making it again in like a linen or something like that. But I think if I did, I probably would try to alter the pattern to do top down, just because I find it so much like nicer to be able to see like where exactly do I want it to end. But yeah, happy with this overall. It's very soft, very like smooth yarn. And then I have one more finished object to share, which is another crop top. I also mentioned this one in my spring knitting plans, and I absolutely blasted through it. And this is another one that I have not blocked or woven in the ends, but I will need to do that after this video. So this is the Fluffy Crop Top by Lialike, and I'm obsessed with this top, mostly because of the color. I used La Bien Aimée Mohair Silk in the color Lisse, which is this beautiful kind of fuchsia color. It's almost like a Barney color. It's a little purpley, more so than it shows on camera. I used 2 strands held together as the pattern recommends. The sizing ranges from 34 to 44 inches with 4 inches of positive ease recommended. And I am so pleased with this, especially that I used like this beautiful luxurious yarn for this pattern. I just think it turned out so beautifully. The straps and shoulders were especially fun. It went by pretty quickly, especially because with flat brioche, you're knitting on both sides, which is my preference. I'm not so much of a purling girl, but I do really like knitting brioche. I think once you get the hang of it, it's pretty fun, and it creates this beautiful like squishy fabric. The body was a little bit of a slog, but overall happy with it. I would definitely consider making another one, and if I did, I would probably add some waist shaping, because I don't love how it just hangs down like really straight. I think it would look nice if it was a little bit tapered, but overall I'm happy with it. And I think if I wore it with like a high-waisted pair of shorts or jeans or something, I would just like tuck in the front to add a little bit more shape around the waist, and I think that would be fine. I also wanted to mention at the bottom it just says bind off, and I decided to do an I-cord bind off, which personally I think is a really beautiful way to bind off brioche. I think it just adds a little bit of structure and like plumpness to the bind off, which I really enjoy. But now that I've done that, I feel like the neckline and armholes look a little bit raw, and I'm trying to decide if I want to go back and add I-cord edges. I'm not sure, so maybe let me know what you think there. I do think that the bottom hem looks a lot neater than the top, and I don't know if it's kind of like jarring to have them be different, but I also don't know if anyone else would notice that or if it's just me. And it's not that it does look neat around the edges for the most part, but I just think maybe it would look more polished if it had an I-cord. So we'll have to see. I mean, I could just try wearing it without and see how it feels. And I am planning to possibly have my maid of honor wear this at the welcome event for my wedding. It'll be more casual, and her dress for the actual wedding is like a similar color to this, so I think it would just be cute to have her borrow this and wear it, and she seemed excited about the idea. And I just think it would be really nice to incorporate some of my knitting into the festivities, because it is a really important hobby for me. So yeah, and I think I mentioned, but I just want to reference again, this mohair I think is so beautiful, and it's just like so soft, so luminous, the color is so vibrant, the silk core is like dyed perfectly along with the mohair. For a 50-gram skein it was almost $40, which is quite pricey, but for a kind of special experience, I think it was really nice, and I would definitely consider buying this mohair in the future for kind of like a splurge or like a special project. Next up, I want to check in on my Ingrid sweater, and this is not the petite knit Ingrid sweater, which I also am planning to make in the future. This is the brioche leaf Ingrid sweater that I've mentioned in the past. This is by the designer Louise Fredrickson, and it is a top-down circular yoke in 2-color brioche. You can see there's this leaf motif here. I'm knitting it on 7mm needles, or no, I'm not. I'm knitting it, I think, on 6.5mm needles because I don't have 7mm in my set. It's recommended to use 7mm with bulky yarn. I'm making it as a gift for my mom, and she wanted it in cotton yarn because She finds animal fiber scratchy, but she still wanted like a natural yarn. And I'm using KnitPicks Dishy in the colors Swan and Black with 2 strands held together. The sizing is very limited. It's a bust of 39 to 42.5 inches. The grading is like very similar. I'm doing size large, but I have made a couple of modifications. The yoke was very long, maybe because the cotton is like heavy. So I stopped it a few rows early. And I also am doing a major modification on the sleeves. My mom didn't want the kind of bell sleeves, or what is it called? Like a bishop sleeve maybe, where it's like flared and then it comes in really tight at the cuff. I think that's pretty cute, but she just didn't prefer it. So I did a straight sleeve for the most part, and then I added a couple of decreases near the cuff, which I think looks pretty cool. I just didn't want it to be too flared. And then instead of like more ribbing, I just did tubular bind off here. So I think it looks really nice, and it has been really fun to knit, especially the yoke. Obviously I finished the first sleeve, and now I started the second sleeve, and then I will go back and finish the body as well. So it's a lot of knitting. It's a large project, and I do think it's like a really statement piece as well. It looks really cool. It's kind of this like graphic colors, and this leaf motif is really interesting. I didn't really mention there's kind of this like funnel neck. So I don't know, it's a really interesting project. I am thinking I might need to order more yarn to finish the body, just because it kind of always happens when you do a more dramatic substitution. Like I did my best to estimate how much I would need, but I might have been a little bit off. So I'm just going to see how far I can get with the yarn I have. It's, like I said, 2 strands held together, and I still have this much on each of the cones. And then I also have like other balls that I'm holding with it. And I still have one more full ball of each. So we will see how it goes. I will definitely be able to finish the sleeve, and then I'll see how far I get on the body. And then if it's not long enough, I'll get a little more yarn. I'm not too worried about the dye lots because of these like very basic colors, but yeah, we will see how things turn out with that, and I'm just kind of chipping away at it. I'm hoping to also have it done for my wedding. I don't know if my mom will actually wear it there, or if she will just like be able to receive it in person. But yeah, that's still like a month and a half away, so we will see how that unfolds. And I also have even more projects that are related to my wedding. So this next one is the Leaf Bolero by fasOLA. I found this one just by searching on Ravelry for mohair boleros. I wanted one to wear to my welcome dinner over the dress that I'm wearing. I don't want it to block the dress like a cardigan. I just want it to provide a little bit of coverage and warmth on, because it's open back. So on the back, on the sleeves, and it's in the evening. So just in case it's a little chilly, I wanted something that's easy to like take on or off. And this pattern seemed really elegant and feminine, and like really interesting. I could have made one that's a bit more basic and just like stockinette, but I thought it would be a really cool opportunity to add a little bit of pizzazz. So this lace pattern is worked with a single strand of mohair on 4mm needles. So it's a very open gauge, and it works up like pretty quickly. I use Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color Snowflake. I've never used Knitting for Olive mohair before, and it's interesting. It's like not that soft. Like it's not as soft as La Bien Aimée or KnitPicks, which I've used before, but it isn't scratchy. Like drops mohair can sometimes be scratchy. I haven't noticed it shedding much at all, like nearly as much as the really soft mohairs that I've used. So I don't know, there's something really interesting about it. I do think typically when a mohair is really soft, it does tend to shed more, is what I've noticed. So I like that this one isn't as soft, but it's not scratchy, and it doesn't shed very much. So pleased with it overall. As you can see, or maybe, it is, the knitting part of it is done. Next, I have to block it to size, and then once it is the correct size, then I'll sew up the armholes, because like with the construction, you can see it's knit flat, and like this section in the middle, from here to here, is the body, and then this is the sleeve. So it will be sewn into a tube like this for the sleeve, but then the body will be open. Hopefully that makes sense. And then I will have to add or not have to, but I will add the recommended crocheted scalloped border similar to the Concha top. which will be around the body and around the cuffs, I believe. So yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's so beautiful. I really have been enjoying lace with like this sweater, with this one. And it was like a lot of knitting, but I didn't get too bored. There's just something about lace that really keeps me intrigued and engaged. So yeah, I really like it. I will mention, I believe I'm the first person to make this pattern, at least according to Ravelry. And this is my third attempt at making it. The first time I got a few rows in, the stitches weren't lining up, so I thought maybe I made a mistake. And it was only a few rows, so frogged it back. Second time, I realized that there definitely was a mistake, and I realized it was in the 5th row, so pretty early into the pattern. I mean, it's like hundreds of rows, so it was like right here. And I didn't know what the mistake was, so I tried to wing it, did not work, had to frog it back again. And then the third time's the charm, I figured out what the mistake was before I started and then went ahead. And I realized that the mistake was actually only in the written instructions, not in the chart. And I prefer working from a chart anyway. It's just for the first few rows, they're like pretty short, so I'd been working from the written instructions just to get into the swing of things, but I decided not to, and then I just used the chart from then on out. So I actually don't know if there are more mistakes in the written instructions, but the chart is totally fine. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. It, like I said, was super fun. The construction is like really interesting. And I didn't mind too much knitting it flat. I've mentioned I'm not a huge like purling fan, but I don't know, there was just something about it that felt fine. And I'm really excited to block it and see the lace open up even more, and it'll just be like a really nice kind of delicate but slightly warm layer. So I'm very excited. Hopefully in my next podcast I'll have it all seamed up and the border added on in order to show you. So yeah, so beautiful. Next, I have a project that is not wedding related. Uh-oh, I lost the yarn of this one. I'll have to get it later. This is the start of the Feels Good Tee by Lily Kate France. This is a t-shirt with set-in sleeves, a very like classic, simple design. It's knit on 3.25 millimeter needles with a fingering weight yarn, and it's worked top down, as you can see, with set-in sleeves and with short rows to add shaping to the shoulders, to the neckband, to the sleeve caps. And that's something that I've heard about Lily Kate France's patterns, is that she adds a lot of small shaping details that really create a simple but kind of enhanced fit. And the size range is quite inclusive, from 28 to 62 inch bust, and neutral ease is recommended. So I'm using the Wandering Flock fingering singles in the color Mystic Violet, which is so beautiful. It reminds me of the Cognac Sweater, where it has like this kind of light variegation. So there's some areas that are kind of darker purple, some that are more medium, and then some that are like more light, like here. So pretty. It's so fun to just see it work up in this way. I'm really enjoying it so far, and it's currently my kind of thoughtless, easy to transport project as I'm working on the body. Although there is waist shaping, so that does make me have to count and pay attention to the rows a little bit, but it's not too bad. So yeah, I'm currently working away at this. It's kind of weird. I feel like at the end of last summer I was so over fingering weight projects, but after some bulkier knits over the winter, I was really craving it again. So I am really enjoying. I just love the tiny little stitches and the thin yarn. There's just something about it that, like, when you're in the mood for it, it's just really satisfying. You can see I'm like pretty early into the body, although I'm making progress. But yeah, I'm excited to obviously go back and add the neckband and the sleeves and stuff like that. I probably will knit until I finish this ball, which, as I mentioned, has escaped behind my desk, so I'll have to scrounge it out, but it's probably like that big at the moment. It's maybe like 2/3 done, so I'll finish the ball, and then when I start the second ball, I'll add the ribbing and the sleeves, and then I'll go back to finish the body. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. It's so beautiful, but I'm not working on it the absolute most right now because I'm mostly focusing on this last pattern, which is the Kaarina Tee by Sari Nordlund. And this is a t-shirt with all over pretty complex cable motif. It recommends knitting for olive pure silk with 2 strands held together, and I am using that. I'm using the color cream, and it has a 20 stitch gauge with a DK weight due to the 2 strands held together. It's on 4mm needles, and the finished bust ranges from 41 to 71 inches with 10 to 12 inches of positive ease recommended. I'm knitting a size 2. And looking at the sleeves, I don't love how they're like at an angle like that. I assume it's because there aren't any short rows, so I am thinking I'll either just not add sleeves, like have it as like a tank top tunic style, or I will add short rows in the sleeves just so that the outside sits more evenly across the arm. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm only on the back panel, so because of the kind of like drop shoulder design, the top is obviously knit flat, so this is the back, and you can see that there's this like pretty significant shaping of the back panel. And then I actually haven't looked ahead, but I assume I'll get this to a certain point, and then I will start the front panel and then probably join them like over the or actually probably I'll pick up stitches for the front panel, maybe like from here, and then add the front panel on and then join it in the round under the arms. But yeah, I really like Sari Nordlund's patterns. I think I've heard some people say that they don't find them that clear, things like that, but I find them like super clear, easy to follow, really enjoy them. So I have not even read ahead. I'm just following the instructions as I go along and kind of trusting the process. And yeah, like I said, this cable pattern is like relatively complex. I really like it. I mean, I'm just following the chart. What I do for a digital chart is in the PDF, I'll make like an outline of like a rectangle, and then I'll just like move it to each row so I can easily see like across the row where I am. And I find that really effective for keeping track. And I've already done, you can see like 3 repeats of the pattern, so it's pretty fun. I do get the sense it'll be a bit of a slog for the body, but I think because it's on 4mm needles and DK weight compared to some of the other fingering weight knits that I am working on or anticipating starting soon, this will be probably like a nice break and go by a bit faster. It has gone by pretty fast so far. So yeah, I'm excited to potentially finish this also by my wedding and have it as an option to wear for one of the events, and we will see. So I'll have more options than events, but can never have too many options, and I think it'll be a beautiful like project or, you know, finished item to be able to wear in the spring and summer as well. I've never finished an item with pure silk. If you've been here for a while, you know the Melides dress is like my white whale. That's also Knitting for Olive pure silk, but it's not done. And I really haven't done enough since the last time I updated to include it in this podcast. But yeah, it's really interesting. It feels like it's not soft or smooth, but it's also not itchy at all. So I don't know how it'll feel to wear it. It's kind of intriguing. So we will see, but yeah, I am like really obsessed with this cable pattern. I just think it's so beautiful. So yeah, that is that. And you might be noticing with a couple of these projects that I'm using Knitting for Olive yarn, and so I wanted to share I got a pretty big haul. So the first thing I wanted to get, I've already referenced, is the mohair in the color Snowflake. And this I used for the Bolero, and I calculated that I would need 3 balls, but I actually have an entire ball that I haven't touched and probably like half of a ball left, so I can make another Bolero. Probably won't do that. I'll probably save this for another project. I'm not sure what I will do with it, but it's not bad to have a couple balls of white mohair. I got a lot of the pure silk in the color Cream. I bought 7 balls of this, as called for by the pattern, and we'll see how much of it I use. And then looking back, I'm like, I didn't need to do this because I'm pretty sure with the mohair and the pure silk, I was like at least really close to the shipping, and I could have maybe gotten like a couple more balls of something random, but I decided to get a few kind of sets of yarn to use for tank tops throughout the summer, which, I mean, it's a fine decision, and I feel like Knitting for Olive yarn is pretty reasonably priced, especially for the quality. Personally, I find that I typically need 2 balls for a tank top and maybe like 3 balls for a t-shirt. So I got a few sets of 2 or 3 balls that I can use for different projects, either in the merino or the cotton merino, and both of those I've used before and really love them. Personally, I find them comfortable to wear even on pretty hot summer days, as long as it's like a skimpy tank top. And I also was intentional about getting colors that are cohesive with each other. They are pretty much all in the warm spring or light spring color palettes, which I think are my like color seasons, at least the ones that are closest. And then also they go together, so if I use like a ball and a half or a ball and 3/4 for a tank top, and then I have some scrap yarn left over, once I use all of these, then I can use the scraps to make a striped tank top or a t-shirt. So I thought that would be nice, and kind of thinking ahead, because I do have a lot of scraps at the moment, or like, you know, one ball or half a ball left over from a project, and I just wanted to kind of be cohesive and plan ahead so that it doesn't go to waste and I'm not like struggling to figure out what to do with that. And it's kind of fun. Like, I'm excited to knit the projects themselves, but I'm also excited to get to knit like a striped thing at the end. So let me walk you through exactly what I got. I got 2 balls of the cotton merino in the color Blueberry Ice Cream. This color is so beautiful. It's like this gorgeous baby blue. It's a little more periwinkle, like a little more purpley in real life than it's showing up on camera, but I think that's pretty true to color. So gorgeous. I got, it's like a little dark in here. I got 2 balls of also cotton merino in the color Soft Mint. So this is another one that's so pretty. And I will hold these together too so you can see the Blueberry Ice Cream and the Soft Mint. Gorgeous pastels, and I do think they're like pretty flattering with my skin tone. Soft Mint might be a little bit light. I don't know. I think it'll be okay. I got 2 balls of, again, the cotton merino in the color Strawberry Ice Cream. This one's so beautiful. It's like a slightly warm, like peachy tone pink. And then again, I'll hold it. Eee, so cute. And then I got 2 balls of merino in the color Dusty Aqua. And this one is a little darker than it's showing up here. Let me see if I can, that's not helping. Okay. It's like a little darker than this in real life. And again, I will hold it with the color palette. So pretty. And finally, I got 3 balls of the merino in the color Marzipan, which is kind of a light beige. And actually, let me hold this with like the cream so you can see the difference. So you can see the cream is like a full-on like whitish cream, and then this one is a little bit of like a more beige or tan tone. Or if I hold it with like Snowflake, hopefully you can see. You know, it's pretty bright, so it's kind of hard to tell. Okay. So yeah, I think this one is so beautiful. They have a lot of neutrals, so it was a little hard to choose, but I wanted one that was like pretty light. And I'm thinking of making the Barocco tee by Sari Nordlund with this. So that one is like a stockinette body with like these lace sleeves, which is kind of cute, like short sleeves. So yeah, we will see how that goes. And then again, let's see if my hands can hold all of these to show you. I'm so excited. I think it's so beautiful. I love this combination of colors. I think it's so gorgeous. And the cotton merino has a really nice sheen to it, I feel. Yeah, you might notice I got 3 projects worth of that and 2 of the merino. I think the cotton merino is like a little bit more comfortable because of the cotton content, but honestly the merino is great as well. And yeah, if you have any tank top recommendations for the summer, please let me know, because I could do up to like 4 patterns. I'm trying to think if I already have any in mind. I'm sure I do. Or I'd be happy to repeat some that I've already done. Like the mixed rib cami by Florence Miller is one of my favorites. I have that in Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Lavender Blue. And I would make another one, maybe like a bit more cropped. And I'm not sure what color I would use, maybe like the Soft Mint. And otherwise, I don't know if I have. I'm sure I have some in my queue, but if there are any that you like, that you enjoyed knitting, please feel free to let me know. This would be like for a fingering weight yarn, light fingering weight. So yeah, but I'm obviously have my plate full for the time being. I'm going to forge ahead with my works in progress. I'm excited to show you an update in my next video. And then I imagine I might have started at least one more summer project or spring project. So yeah, this has been a pretty full video. Thank you so much for watching if you got to the end. Like I mentioned, let me know down below your favorite spring or summer tank top project for inspiration. And again, thank you for watching. I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.